Okay, I'll begin where I left off last time reading this book, Illuminati 666 by William Hosea Sutton. It's had a lot going on, so I haven't really been able to, finish up. But I didn't want to read the whole entire book, but there's a few sections in here that are really, really good with lightning information and knowledge you can gain from, hearing it. But, well, okay, so page 66 is where I left off. Now the entire remainder of the sky, outside of the zodiacal band, was also divided into 36 constellations, 15 on the south side and 21 on the north side. A god of each constellation was appointed to rule over one of the 36 rooms of the zodiac. Every star in the sky was considered as a god, and the abode of departed spirits, and was included in a constellation, over whom was appointed a god who ruled over a zodiacal room. Each zodiacal house god rules over a month of the year, and the seven planetary gods regulated, according to astrology, the affairs of mankind by their relative positions in the various rooms of the zodiac. Over them all ruled the sun god, the all-seeing eye, who was considered the central fire from which each had sprung. As you will recall, the learned doctors of paganism believed that all the other gods were but emanations of the one god, the sun god. Now, 1, 6, 12, 36, 111, and 666 were the most sacred numbers in astrology. Priests of sun worship used the numbers mathematically by the way the stars travel across the sky to predict future events. They invented magic charts to perform this most popular form of divination. Like the roulette wheel, the charts were divided into 36 numbered divisions. There were 6 columns in all directions with the numbers 1 to 36 placed inside the entire chart. Any direction you add the columns, they add to 111. There are 6 squares in each columns, and 6 times 111 equals 666. If you add all the numbers from 1 to 36, they will also add to 666. So you see, the number 36 was a sacred number that identified with the 36 room gods of the zodiac. And the number 666 was a summary number of the sun god because it was his sacred number as the ruler of the zodiac. Most will agree that this is very interesting, but there is still another deeper deception the Apostle John in the book of Revelation was told to warn the people of the world about. This is the number of the beast that will cause the world to worship Satan under a false system of Christianity. Quote, "Take heed lest any man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many." Unquote. Mark chapter 13, 5 and 6. Quote, "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Unquote. Revelation chapter 13, verse 18. Now, as I told you guys who's watching from my previous videos, I'm reading this book because I like the information in it. I don't necessarily subscribe to this author's eschatology, meaning his biblical theory of the end times. I find it interesting and I'm open-minded to it, but this is not what I 100% believe. The Bible prophecy part. The information in it's really good, but the Bible prophecy stuff I will leave to let you draw your own conclusions on it. Done previous videos where I've talked about what I think about the end times. The Hebrew, Chaldean, Latin, Greek, and Arab languages have a numerical value for the letters of their alphabets. Take, for instance, the original Roman numerals. They were IVXLCD. And if you add these Roman numerals themselves along with their numerical values, we get, which is I1, V5, X10, L50, C100, D500 equals 666. The letter M was not in the original system. It was added later. Now, the pagans had a custom of adding their names according to the value of their letters of their own alphabet. As their languages are different, so were the values of each of their letters in their alphabets. The I in Roman numerals equals 1 in the Greek language. However, the 1 has a value of 10. Oh man, I lost my place there. Yep. Okay. And here's a astrological chart pagan high priests used to predict future events. Let me try to get it to where you can see it. Dang it. So, this is the page. Yep. Here we go. Okay. If you add all the numbers together, they will add to 666. Interesting. The New Testament was originally written in the Greek language, and an ancient Greek name for Satan in its transliterations, as we examined earlier, was Titan, spelled T-E-I-T-A-N. And if you add Titan in its Greek numerical values for the letters, we get T300, E5, I10, T300, A1, N50, of course, equals 666. Now, since the sun god, the heavenly bull, brought both light and darkness as he rose from east to west, he was worshipped also as both good and evil. He was worshipped not only as a good and evil god, but both male and female. The reasoning behind this heathen philosophy is that the sun god was believed to be the source of all things. So, since there is good and evil, and male and female, the sun god had to be good and evil, and double-sexed, because men and women were created in the image of their god, and since everything derived from the sun god, the ancients believed that the soul of man was a divine spark that returned to the central fire, the sun, from which they originally came. And since the pagans believed the stars were but emanations of the sun, all the star gods were believed to be once men that had visited this planet. Switch hands here for a second. This could explain why Quetzalcoatl, the Mexican and Aztec messiah, was pictured in their arts as a good man who was a great benefactor of mankind. He visited the earth to teach the arts of civilization and promised his followers he would return, but he was pictured also as an evil serpent which devoured mankind. The American Indians, both in the north and in the south, considered the bird and the snake as sacred. The bird, because of its power of flight, contained the spirits of the dead and was associated with lightning. Both lightning and birds of prey can be seen to descend sharply from above and strike with lethal effectiveness. Hence, the mythological time cycle bird of fire was called the phoenix, not only by many Indian tribes of North America, but also by the Egyptians and the Phoenicians. Sometimes called Bennu by the Egyptians, the phoenix was worshipped as the bright and morning star. The morning star to the Egyptians was the nocturnal representation of the hidden sun god Osiris, or his soul. The phoenix was known as the one who ferries Osiris. In the earliest texts, the morning star and Orion, the ruler of the sky, are often compared. For some, gods with a similar name seem to be confused with the morning star, like Athtar, who was worshipped as the god of vegetation, as was Tammuz. However, this name Athtar, according to mythology of all races, means Lucifer. Now, it just so happens that one of the old spellings of phoenix is phoenix, spelled P-H-E-N-E-X, or phoenix, spelled F-E-N-E-X, in Greek transliterations. Like the name Lucifer, phoenix means, quote, shining one, unquote. And if we add phoenix, the one spelled F-E-N-E-X, in its Greek value, we get F6, E5, N50, E5, X600, which equals 666. It depended on what area of the world the pagan lived as to what type of bird was called the phoenix. To the Egyptian, it was the heron. To the Babylonians, Assyrians, and Hindus, it was a peacock. To the North American Indian, it was the eagle. To the Central and South American, he was the Quetzal. In China, Japan, and India, the phoenix is the peacock and the symbol of the sun. In Bali, the peacock is a symbol of the entire sky. The pagan believed that when he died, his spirit would become immortal and take possession of one of the stars in heaven from whence he originally came. It is significant that the peacock throne made at Delhi, India, in 1628 is supported by 12 pillars, one for each of the 12 signs of the zodiac. It is eye-opening to discover the peacock sunbird, a symbol of Lucifer, the god behind all false gods, pictured on a Roman Catholic church window, encircled by the zodiac. In the Church of Saint Maurice at Reims, France, we find a woman, probably the Virgin Mary, pictured in a sun halo and crowned with 7 stars. In one hand she holds a peacock, around which stretches a circular band having on it the 12 signs of the zodiac. Another shocking observation regarding the Roman Catholic Church is her exaltation of her Pope when in procession, as he is carried on his portable throne. During this procession, 2 grooms carry large fans of peacock feathers in such a way that the seated Pope seems to have 2 wings on his shoulders, which are constantly in motion, and they make him appear as if he is flying. In ancient Rome and Greece, heaven was considered filled with eyes. The eyes representing the stars. The stars representing the homes of the dead. The god Argus, that's spelled Argus, was said to have hundreds of eyes. These eyes of heaven were represented by the eyes found in the peacock feathers. Juno, queen of heaven to the Romans, had a peacock as her sacred bird. The peacock or phoenix has long been connected with the zodiac. I'm always having trouble pronouncing this right. It's spelled Yezidis. Those are them devil worshippers, I believe, going back a few videos ago when I was reading this. I think Iran, yeah. But, yeah, Yazid, whatever, I'll just spell it. Yazidis? I don't know. The open devil worshippers we mentioned earlier to this day have 7 stone images of peacocks, which they say represent the 7 planets, in which they call Satan or Satan. It's a different way of obviously naming Satan, but it's spelled Seitan, which is merely the Arabic spelling for Titan or Satan. In Hinduism, the Ramayana relates that when the god Indra transforms himself into an animal, he becomes a peacock. In India, the peacock was believed to have 1,000 eyes in its feathers and had power to kill snakes. This sacred bird that symbolized the heavenly host is known to have been kept in Babylon for religious purposes. Aristotle mentions the peacock bird, and a reference in a play by Aristophanes may imply that a Persian ambassador brought a gift of peacocks. Alexander the Great imposed heavy penalties on those who killed Indian peacocks. The birds were depicted on Greek coins. They were sacred to Hera, and a myth relates how the goddess set the 100-eyed Argus to guard her husband's mistress. Io, after Zeus sent Hermes to charm and kill Argus, Hera used the giant's eyes to ornament the peacock's tail. In Java, the peacock was associated with the devil. In Mosul, in northern Iraq, there is a sect of them devil worshippers in Iran again, Yazidis, who hold that the devil is not evil and call him the peacock angel. The worshippers of Satan could have chosen no better animal to represent the heavenly host as the proud ruler of the year and God behind all gods. It is interesting to note that the very symbol of the proud ruler of the universe, according to heathen belief, is used as a symbol for the NBC television network. And CBS television network uses the all-seeing eye, which was the symbol of the sun god. The ruler of the eyes, stars in heaven. Also, ABC television network uses the sun disk as a symbol of their organization. It is very important that the reader have some knowledge of the various religions that derived out of astrology, so that he may understand the esoteric mysteries found in the goals and purposes of secret societies. However, before we begin to study the secret societies, which we shall examine in the next chapter, there are a couple of more important facts about astrology and spiritualism the reader should be aware of. Astrology teaches that this world is to pass through a time period about 26,000 years. This is the length of time it takes, according to astrology, for the Earth to pass through the influence of each of the 12 signs of the zodiac. Each great month or sign is figured about 2,100 years. Hence, the entire time period of 12 months, having about 2,100 years each, is known to astrologers as the Great Year. This Great Year is divided by 7 ages: Leo, Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, and Aquarius. During this so-called Great Year, or 26,000 years, astrology claims to have predicted the evolutionary progress of man from century to century. The starting point for the 7 continual ages began 10,000 to 8,000 BC, which was known as the Age of Leo. From the book The Complete Astrologer, Parker read the following, quote, "The earliest month of which we have real knowledge was that of Leo, 10,000 to 8,000 BC. The Lascaux cave paintings show the Leonine creative influence, but the thought motivation behind the effort is Aquarian in spirit. The age of Cancer, 8,000 to 6,000 BC, witnessed the earliest developments of settled farming and constructed dwellings, both of which are Capricornian in essence. During the Geminian age, 6,000 to 4,000 BC, the founding of the earliest libraries comes under Sagittarius. Perhaps the most striking polarity of all was in the Taurian age, 4,000 to 2,000 BC. For the Egyptians were much preoccupied with death and the afterlife, themes strongly related to Scorpio. The warlike Aryan age expressed its polarity with Libra and the magnificent beauty and balance of Greek architecture, 2000 BC, birth of Christ, unquote. The Complete Astrologer, Parker McGraw-Hill Book Company, 1971, page 44. Now, according to astrology, we are living in the age of Pisces, 0 to 2000 AD. The age of Pisces is considered the Christian dispensation. Pisces was symbolized in astrology in the form of a fish because the mother goddess Venus and Cupid hurled themselves into the river Euphrates and became fishes after being terrified by the giant typhon. Hence, we find the real origin of the fish symbol that some Aryan Christians display to show they are Christians. Spiritualism teaches that during this evolutionary timetable of the 26,000 years, masters of wisdom, or Christs, were to arise. Some were to be founders of great religions, say occultists, and they would have a variety of titles such as Mahatmas, the hierarchy, the great ones, the secret brotherhood, the inner government of the world, the great white lodge of masters of the wisdom. One of these so-called masters was Kut-Humi, or Humai, spelled H-O-O-M-I, who is said to have inspired a witch named Alice Bailey. She claimed to be one of these masters. She was the author of many occult books, one of which was Discipleship in the New Age. In her book, she states the following, quote, "We stand now on the verge of a similar but more momentous event, the appearance of the fifth kingdom, as a result of the planned activity of the new group of world servers working in collaboration with the hierarchy of perfected souls, and under the guidance of the Christ himself. This will usher in the new age, wherein 5 kingdoms in nature will be recognized as existing side by side upon earth," unquote. Discipleship in the New Age, Bailey, Lucis Publishing Company, 1944, page 32. Bailey goes on to say that this new age we are entering into will call for a universal New World religion. This philosophy is based on a theory found in astrology that this world is entering into the age of Aquarius. Hence, the reader may look at this song found among rock and rollers in a different light. For, quote, "This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius," unquote, was written by disciples of this New Age movement to help promote the idea of a one-world government and a one-world religion. Now, Aquarius is also known as the Great Coming New Month. In the book The Complete Astrologer, Parker, page 44, we read the following, quote, "In the age of Aquarius, we may conjecture that man will consider a system of world government which will involve the organizational characteristics of Leo," unquote. Alice Bailey told her brethren that Christ himself would usher in this new age. Bailey goes on to say how this new age will call for a new world religion. In her book Disciples in the New Age, page 38, we read the following, quote, "The workers in the field of religion form this group. Their work is to formulate the universal platform of the new world religion. It is a work of loving synthesis, and it will emphasize the unity and the fellowship of the Spirit. This group is, in a pronounced sense, a channel for the second ray of love wisdom, that of the world teacher, an office held at present by the Christ. The platform of the New World religion will be built by the many groups working under the inspiration of the Christ and the influence of the second ray, and these in their totality will constitute this sixth group," unquote. Reader, be not deceived. The Christ here that Alice Bailey is referring to is not Jesus of Nazareth. Spiritualism does not deny the existence of Jesus, but they do deny Jesus was God manifested in the flesh. And as we continue to follow the history of the great Luciferian conspiracy, the reader will see how spiritualism uses Christianity to destroy Christianity. We may examine this fact by reading the writings of another disciple of this New Age movement who called himself Levi. In his book, The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ, Levi shows how spiritualism is trying to unite Christianity into its ranks, which untold millions have already been deceived. Quote, "The Christ is Son, the only Son begotten by Almighty God, the God of force and God omniscience, God of thought, and Christ is God, the God of love," unquote. Levi goes on to say again, quote, "Christ is the logos of infinities, and through the word alone are thought and force made manifest." The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ, Levi, Divorce and Co. Publishers, 1964. And before I move on, there's a page again to look at. Read that. There we go. Pause that if you want and read that for a second. Get a little closer. Get a little closer to read that. You can. Okay. Anyways, astrology teaches that the human race will pass through 7 ages. Before each age, a Christ, according to spiritualism, was to appear to usher in each new age. We live in the age of Pisces, according to them, 0 to 2000 AD, and according to spiritualism, we are about to enter into the age of Aquarius, which will begin in the year 2000 AD. Whether or not this is the long-awaited appearance of the Antichrist foretold from Scripture still remains to be seen. For there are many antichrists, 1 John 2:18. The devil himself will appear as Jesus Christ just before the real Jesus of Nazareth appears in the heavens. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 through 11. Satan will personate Jesus as he is described in Revelation chapter 1, verses 13 through 15. This false Christ Maitreya, according to this newspaper article, will appear as an ordinary modern man. Spiritualism teaches that Jesus was just one of the masters that would come into the world. And the word Christ in spiritualism is a principle, logos, and does not refer to any particular person. Jesus was just another avatar among modern-day occultists. Again, we quote from the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ by Levi as follows, quote, "What relationship existed between Jesus of Nazareth and the Christ? Orthodox Christian ecclesiastics tells us that Jesus of Nazareth and the Christ were one, and that the true name of this remarkable person was Jesus Christ. They tell us that this man of Galilee was the very eternal God clothed in flesh of man, that men might see his glory. Of course, this doctrine is wholly at variance with the teachings of Jesus himself and of his apostles, unquote. The Korean Gospel of Jesus the Christ, Levi, Divorce & Co., publishing 1967, pages 35 and 67. Contrary to what Levi said in his book, there are numerous scriptures found in the Bible, both in the Old and New Testament, that supports the doctrine that Jesus was God himself, clothed in a human body. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifested in the flesh, justified in the Spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up into glory, unquote. 1 Timothy 3:16. Jesus himself said in John chapter 14, 8-9, quote, Philip saith unto him, Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. Jesus saith unto them, Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, Show us the Father? Unquote. Now, one thing I want to stop here just for a second to point out. Another reason why I really do like this book is because this is one that not only exposes the mystery schools, but, stays very honest and true, because of course who wrote this was, I think, a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. But still, they don't, most of the people I've listened to and books that I've read, which has talked about the mystery religions and mystery schools, most of them anyways, they always wind up like the Jordan Maxwells or, Phil Cooper's, but where they actually begin to agree with them regarding Christianity and Jesus to some degree, or they start talking about the Bible being, an esoteric book or whatever reason, whatever thing else they promote. This is different. This one talks about the mysteries. It talks about their deception of Christianity. They're, trying to, make Christianity one of theirs. But this one also works to debunk that too. So it's a good, for the most part, well-researched book. Anyways, I'm moving on. Here is another truth the scriptures call to attention. Quote, Who is a liar but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ? He is Antichrist, that denieth the Father and the Son. Unquote. 1 John chapter 2, verses 22. And every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and now even now already is it in the world. Unquote. 1 John 4:3. Spiritualism teaches that at the beginning of every age, there has been a Christ to usher them in. Jesus was the Christ who, according to astrology, ushered in the age of Pisces, 0 to 2000 AD. Today, spiritualism calls Christ, quote, the God of force, unquote. Little do these modern Luciferians know that the Christ of the Holy Scriptures, the Lord of the Sabbath, foretold through his prophets how spiritualism would try to unite the world into a one-world Luciferian socialistic government. The Apostle John was given a vision from our Lord, Jesus of Nazareth, that symbolized this New Age movement as the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit. Revelation chapter 11, verse 7, 17, verse 3, and 7 through 14. Right? Is that chapter 7, verse 14? Or no, I'm sorry. He's saying Revelation chapter 17, verses 7 through 14. There you go. While Daniel, the prophet, was given a vision of this New Age movement almost 700 years before the Apostle John at Revelation received his vision, Daniel even used the same language modern Luciferians and occultists use today to describe it. In Daniel chapter 11, 36 through 39, we read the following, quote, And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God. For he shall magnify himself above all, But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase his glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain." Unquote. In the following chapters of this book, we will understand more of the meaning of this prophecy, and we will learn what other names this New Age movement is coming under. And I'll probably read a little bit more of this, but this is quite a good book here. This is the next one. Come on. This is quite a good book, for the most part. Anyways, that's it for now. Take care. Thank you for listening.